The second book of Adam and Eve, Chapter 1. The grief-stricken family, Cain marries Luluwa, and they move away. When Luluwa heard Cain's words, she wept and went to call her father and mother and told them how that Cain had killed his brother Abel and Habel. Then they all cried aloud and lifted up their voices and slapped their faces and threw dust upon their heads and rent asunder their garments and went out and came to the place where Habel was killed. And they found him lying on the ground, killed, and beasts around him, while they wept and cried because of this just one. From his body, by reason of its purity, went forth a smell of sweet spices. And Adam carried him, and his tears streaming down his face, and went to the cave of treasures, where he laid him, and wound him up with sweet spices and myrrh. And Adam and Eve, Hawa, continued by the burial of him in a great grief 140 days. Hawa was 15.5 years old, and Cain 17 years and a half. As for Cain, when the mourning for his brother was ended, he took his sister Luluwa and married her without leave from his father and mother, for they could not keep him from her by reasons of their heavy heart. He then went down to the bottom of the mountain, away from the garden, near to the place where he had killed his brother. And in that place were many fruit trees and forest trees. His sister bare him children, who in their turn began to multiply by degrees until they filled that place. But as for Adam and Eve, they came not together after Habel's funeral for 7 years. After this, however, Hawa conceived, and while she was with child, Adam said unto her, Come, let us take an offering and offer it up unto God, and ask him to give us a fair child in whom we may find comfort, and whom we may join in marriage to Habel's sister. Then they prepared an offering and brought it up to the altar and offered it before the Lord, and began to entreat him to accept their offering and to give them a good offspring. And God heard Adam and accepted his offering. Then they worshipped Adam, Hawa, and their daughter, and came down to the cave of treasures, and placed a lamp in it, to burn by night and by day, before the body of Habel. Then Adam and Hawa continued fasting and praying until Hawa's time came, that she should be delivered. And she said to Adam, I wish to go to the cave in the rock to bring forth in it. And he said, Go and take with thee thy daughter to wait on thee, but I will remain in this cave of treasures before the body of my son Habel. Then Hawa hearkened to Adam and went, she and her daughter, but Adam remained by himself in the cave of treasures. That was 14 verses. In chapter 2, a third son is born to Adam and Hawa, 9 verses. And Eve brought forth a son, perfectly beautiful in figure and countenance. His beauty was like that of his father Adam, yet more beautiful. Then Hawa was comforted. Hawa, the same as Eve. When she saw him, and remained 8 days in the cave, and she sent her daughter unto Adam, to tell him to come and see the child and name him. But the daughter stayed in his place by the body of her brother until Adam returned. So did she. But when Adam came and saw the child's good looks, his beauty, and his perfect figure, he rejoiced over him, and was comforted for Habel. Then he named that child Seth, and that means that God has heard my prayer, and has delivered me from out of my affliction. But it means also power and strength. Then after Adam had named the child, he returned to the cave of treasures, and his daughter went back to her mother. But Hawa continued in her cave until 40 days were fulfilled, when she came to Adam and brought with her the child and her daughter. Then they came to a river of water, where Adam and his daughter washed themselves because of their sorrow for Habel. But Hawa and the babe washed for purification. Then they returned and took an offering and went to the mountain and offered it up for the babe. And God accepted their offering and sent his blessing upon them and upon their son Seth. And they came back to the cave of treasures. As for Adam, he knew not again his wife Hawa all the days of his life, neither was any more offspring born of them, but only those 5, Cain, Luluwa, Habel, Akolyah, and Seth. But Seth waxed in stature and in strength, and began to fast and pray fervently. Now, is it Sheth? Is it... I don't remember the characters, and some of the later Hebrew pronunciations aren't the same, and yeah. So, chapter 3, Satan appears as a beautiful woman, tempting Adam, telling him he is still a youth. Spend thy youth in mirth and pleasures. The different forms which Satan takes. 16 verses. As for our father Adam, at the end of the 7 years from the day he had severed from his wife Eve, Satan envied him, and when he saw him thus separated from her, and strove to make him live with her again, then Adam rose and went up to the cave of the treasures, and continued to sleep there night by night. But as soon as it was light every day, he came down to the cave, to pray there and receive a blessing from it. But when it was evening, he went up on the roof of the cave, where he slept by himself, fearing lest Satan should overcome him, and then he continued thus apart 39 days. I can't help but be, the symbolism of the Kaaba can relate to these sorts of things, right? We continued thus apart 39 days. Then Satan, the hater of all good, when he saw Adam thus alone, fasting and praying, appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful woman, who came and stood before him in the night of the 40th day, and said unto him, O Adam, from the time ye have dwelt in this cave, we have experienced great peace from you, and your prayers have reached us, and we have been comforted about you. But now, O Adam, that thou hast gone up over the roof of the cave to sleep, we have had doubts about thee, and a great sorrow has come upon us because of thy separation from Hawa. Then again, when thou art on the roof of this cave, thy prayer is poured out, and thy heart wanders from side to side. But when thou wast in the cave, thy prayer was like fire gathered together, and it came down to us, and thou didst find rest. Then I also grieved over thy children, who are severed from thee, and my sorrow is great about the murder of thy son Abel, for he was righteous, and over a righteous man every one will grieve. But I rejoiced over the birth of thy son Seth, yet after a little while I sorrow greatly over Hawa, because she is my sister. For when God sent a deep sleep over thee, and drew her out of thy side, he brought me out also with her. But he raised her by placing her with thee, while he lowered me. I rejoiced over my sister for her being with thee. But God has made a promise before, and said, Grieve not when Adam has gone up on the roof of the cave of treasures, and is separated from Eve his wife, from Hawa his wife. I will send thee to him, and thou shalt join thyself to him in marriage, and bear him 5 children, as Hawa did bear him 5. And now, lo, God's promise to me is fulfilled, for it is he who has sent me to thee for the wedding. Because if thou wed me, I shall bear thee finer and better children than those of Hawa. Then again thou art as yet but a youth. End not thy youth in this world in sorrow, but spend the days of thy youth in mirth and pleasure, for thy days are few, and thy trial is great. Be strong, end thy days in this world, rejoicing. I shall take pleasure in thee, and thou shalt rejoice with me in this wise, and without fear. Up, then, and fulfill the command of thy God. She then drew near to Adam, and embraced him. But when Adam saw that he should be overcome by her, he prayed to God with a fervent heart to deliver him from her. Then God sent his word unto Adam, saying, O Adam, that figure is the one that promised thee the Godhead and the majesty. He is not favorably disposed towards thee, but shows himself to thee at one time in the form of a woman another moment in the likeness of an angel, on another occasion in the similitude of a serpent, at another time in the semblance of what you may consider to be a god. But he does all that only to destroy thy soul. Now therefore, O Adam, understanding